It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast show. Expresso here on SABC3. Now, South Africa has incredible flora and fauna indigenous to our beautiful country. If we want to make sure we can still have these amazing species for our grandchildren to enjoy, supporting conservation efforts is key to their survival.
Indeed it is. Now, one organization that has been doing great work in protecting a bird that is quite unique to SA is the African penguin. And we got this latest scoop just before the lockdown started. Let's check it out.
The African penguin is quite unique because it is the only penguin species that breeds on the African coastline. The African penguin breeds from Namibia all the way down through the Western Cape and then up through the Eastern Cape as well.
For almost 50 years, SANCCOB has been a champion of the well-being and conservation of African penguins. At their centre in Cape Town, they primarily treat and rehabilitate penguins, but care for other injured seabirds as well.
Unfortunately, the African penguin was reclassified as endangered in 2010. The numbers have decreased dramatically. In the 1900s, there was more than 1 million breeding pairs in the wild, and now they've whittled down to about 23,000 breeding pairs between Namibia and South Africa. So it's a huge cause for concern. Unfortunately, African penguins are under threat because they have to compete with the commercial fishing industries for their main prey items such as anchovy and sardines. And so the more that the commercial fishing industries fish these species, there's less food for seabirds, particularly African penguins. So when you think about penguins having to provision for their young and for themselves, that's really contributing to the decline of the species.
SANCCOB has treated nearly 100,000 seabirds since inception, and the primary goal is to ensure that wild colonies of endangered seabirds like African penguins can thrive and grow by rehabilitating birds back into their natural environment.
One of SANCCOB's functions is rehabilitation of seabirds, and I have Steve on my lap. Steve is actually a non-releasable penguin, and this is why I'm able to hold this bird and give it attention. You would not be able to do this with a wild African penguin. It would most probably bite you. But most of the species that we get in are injured, mostly sort of seal bite wounds or trauma that they've sustained by being hit against rocks and things like that. And we have a clinical veterinarian on site, and he's able to treat most of the birds that come in. So that's really where SANCCOB fits into the whole picture, is that we will work with conservation organizations who will rescue the birds from the colonies. They bring them to SANCCOB, we admit them, rehabilitate them, and release them back into the wild. So like any non-profit organisation, funding is our biggest challenge. Operationally, it costs a significant amount to run this place every year, and our fundraising team have a huge task on their hands. In addition to that, we have received funding to expand our premises. The reason for expansion is because our current premises that we moved into back in the 80s are quite dilapidated, and they're really difficult and challenging to rehabilitate birds. So we were granted a significant portion of the money from the National Lotteries Board, which has helped enormously, but we have a shortfall of about 5 million rand. So there's a lot of fundraising effort that's undergoing now, trying to get that money together so that we can actually make this dream a reality.
The new Seabird Hospital will have a bigger wash bay, bigger bird pools, surgical rooms, an X-ray room, as well as a much-needed fish freezer to store food for the penguins, and they hope to have the facility built and launched in December.
The new facility is designed specifically for the birds, so there'll be 2 big penguin pools with hens attached to them, and a big aviary with a large sort of flying pool as well for larger seabirds. I've been involved in the design process from the beginning, so I'm very happy to see this sort of materializing now. And it's going to make sure that we can rehabilitate these birds in the best possible way. And I think the birds will benefit the most from the new centre.
If you'd like to contribute to this amazing new Seabird Hospital, visit sanccob.co.za and make a donation to support the conservation of our precious seabirds.